Happy Friday, y'all. I hope you're all doing well and find yourself in high spirits. Today, I want to tell the story of when one day, a typical day, when I was thriving. I'm not talking about surviving, I'm talking about thriving, going above and beyond, worrying about the day to day. And this is what you should hope your kids could do sometimes. Um, so this is how the day would start. Either my wife would get up a little bit early and drive me to the light rail station where the mega bus would pick people up to take them to San Francisco. And the mega bus is this double decker bus that has regular runs to Reno, San Francisco, Los Angeles, and I think across the country also. And they even have them in other countries, I believe. Anyways, you buy your ticket ahead of time, and sometimes you can get the one-way trip for like $1. Um, the return sometimes is like $10, and so the round trip is like $11, which is pretty cheap. And I would try to get a front window. You pay extra for those, and I wouldn't pay extra, but no one would, so they would be vacant, and I would always, get lucky and just get to sit in them. So I'd be up on the top looking out. It would be an adventure for me. Most of the bus, I think, were commuters, and they were out. They were sleeping for the ride there, which took about 2 hours. And so the bus would drop us off at the Caltrain station, which is on 4th and I think Townsend. I could be wrong, but I know it's on 4th, which is like almost when you come off the Bay Bridge. It's pretty close to when you get off the bridge, close to downtown. Um, and if I'm not mistaken, I would walk through the Soma district, which is south of Market, and then be on Market. So, anyways, it would drop me off there, and I would walk through the Soma district to Market Street. And the district gentrified like over the course of 1 year. When I first started doing this, and I would go volunteer at the Conservatory of Flowers. That's why I took the train there. I took a day off from work. I spent my own money to go volunteer at this like huge glass house that was full of tropical plants. Really beautiful scenery in there. They had this big lake with these huge lily pads that looked like cups. People came from all over the world to go there, but I'll get to that. But when I first started volunteering, I would catch the mega bus. It would drop me off at the Caltrain station, and then I would walk like maybe a mile and a half to Market Street, and then I would eat at this place called Home Skillet. I'd eat waffles and home fries and eggs and bacon, and I'd have coffee. And for being a big city, I get way better coffee here. I've never had coffee that's even close in San Francisco to the coffee I get here. And anyways, so I would go eat a fat breakfast, window seat, talk to people around me. When I was done, I would go walk to the bus stop, and their bus system, you could enter like where you're gonna be and where you're gonna go, and it'll tell you, okay, walk here, catch this, get off there, walk another block, and then you'll be there. And they would give you various options. So after I eat a fat breakfast, I would go to the beach next to Golden Gate Park, and I would like kind of lay on the sand on the beach and just kick it, man. I would take off my shoes and walk barefoot on the sand, let the sun come up on me. It was really, really nice because the bus would leave from here like at 6, and so I would get there at 8, and it's just waking up over there too. So um, then I would walk after I was at the beach for a little while. I would walk through Golden Gate Park, by these big old beautiful windmills, and then I'd stop at the gate and look at the buffaloes, and then just walk through the park, man, and there'd be like all these beautiful people jogging, rollerblading, riding bikes, out for walks. They got tennis courts that had these like old people that were like all gray and pretty old, but hella good at tennis. They were getting down. Just a lot of life. You know, it was vibrant. It was thriving. It was people that were happy, living like the best lives people can be living. And then so I get to the conservatory, and I had a little apron that had a picture of the conservatory on it, and I was the greeter. And when I first started, they had a display because they do special displays. They got the main rooms with all the plants they always have, and then they do a special display that has, either like the history of San Francisco, poisonous plants. That actually is called Plants That Kill. And this particular time, they had aquatic gardens. So, like gardens in fish tanks, right? And I knew about that stuff because that was kind of my hobby. And so I went to go look at the display exhibit. And while I was there, I noticed that these little German rams, which are cichlid fish, had laid eggs, and they were taking care of them. And then I also noticed that the plants were, they were doing photosynthesis. And, you learn when you're little that plants take in carbon dioxide and release oxygen. But because it's a gas and it's clear, you don't see it. But if it's in an aquarium, when the plants are doing the photosynthesis, you see a little trail of bubbles coming off of the plant. Like if you put a bubbler on the plant and it's bubbling, like that's how you see the bubbles coming off of a plant when it's consuming carbon dioxide and producing oxygen. And so I go up to the people that work there, and I'm like, hey, check it out. These little fish right here, they built the nest, and they're guarding the eggs. And then when they have the babies, they're going to move them around and take them to go eat and protect them and raise them. And I know because I had these fish. And they go well with Planet Aquariums, right? And then I said, and then look, this little plants right here, you can see the bubbles coming off of it. And that's photosynthesis. And I know you guys get a lot of tours of different people coming through here. And when kids come through, you guys should point these things out. And they're like, man, you know more about this than us. Would you want to be a docent? And a docent is someone that sits in the special exhibit and talks to people about it. And I was like, hell yeah, I want to be a docent. And so, what I tell people about like going to school and stuff, and I worked my way up. I didn't really like go to school like that. Is they get jobs that are cool to them. And, I said, hey, man, I want to volunteer. So I want to take this many days off a month, every month to go do this. And they're like, all right, cool. And so, I would take the bus, go there, go eat my fat breakfast, go to the beach, and then go to the conservatory, and then post up in the lobby and just be like, hey, what's up? Take their tickets, right? And it was a trip because when I would walk from the Caltrain station where the mega bus dropped me off to Market where I would eat, when I first started volunteering, like it was full of homeless people, and the homeless people there were like orders of magnitude more further along in some kind of sickness. So like in Sacramento, I've seen them in at worst, I've seen them defecating in public, talking to themselves, what have you. In South of Market at that time, there was like folks who had elephantitis, and there's two 90-pound fucking testicles just hanging on the sidewalk coming off of them, and their foot has gangrene, and it fucking stinks from half the block away. And other people with like huge fucking sores and maggots, and it was nuts. I'd never seen anything like that. And I worked across the street from a park that was full of homeless people that were probably the most mentally ill, arguably, in town, and I'd never seen anything like that. It was mind blowing. And I don't shy from the human experience, so in some ways I'm grateful that I'm able to appreciate how dysfunctional things are in some of the darkest pockets of the city. And again, like, that area in a year, it changed. Like, everybody got cleaned out, tons of fancy buildings went up, museums. It changed. And anyways, I'm in the lobby, and of this big, like, just gorgeous glass house. It's huge too. The biggest one, I think, in the United States even, and they shipped it here from England like in the 1800s. There was a bad storm that tore it down, and they had to rebuild it. If you guys go to San Francisco, it's worth checking out, especially if you like nature, plants, stuff like that. So people would come in, and it was people from all over the world, like, you name it. Japanese people, Swiss people, French people, Italian people, Mexican people, Peruvian people, Brazilian people, Greece, Greeks, Eastern Europeans, Russians, like, just, and I guess it's balling people from a lot of these countries, because, they would show up in, nice gear with their families, and everybody was happy. And it was like I was getting the best of society, in the sense that there was no ill will to them. They were just happy. They wanted to learn about other people. And this is like in the course of one day. I mean, it's like, as far as the human experience, probably like being on the big island of Hawaii and skiing in the morning at the top of the snow mountain there, Mauna Lea, I think, something like that. And then skiing in the morning, and then in the evening you're down on the beach surfing, and it's warm and beautiful. Like, that was how much range of human experience I got volunteering. And like, the people were like, "Oh, what's your name, and where you from?" And, "Oh, I'm Mexican." "Oh, well," and then they would ask questions with like genuine interest, and I would ask back, and it was really, really wonderful. And then, because I volunteered there, the conservatory itself was partners with like the museums and the Academy of Science and the zoo and all those things. And so they would provide like enrichment opportunities for the volunteers, where you get like a behind the scenes tour of the Academy of Science. You get to go behind the scenes at the butterfly room. They show you what the workers do there, because you're a worker from the parks. You're a volunteer, but you're a worker there. And like, they had some beautiful agaves in the park, and when the park workers cut them, they're like, "Look, I can't give it to you, but I'm gonna walk away, and if you don't take it, I'm just gonna throw it away." And so I would take them, and and in the conservatory, like, they had these big banana trees, and if the bananas ripened on the trees on the day you were working, you could take them. They'll give you some. And they had like art classes for free to teach you how to paint plants in conservatories. And they would have parties at night that were like catered by microbreweries and like fancy restaurants, and people would be playing like Peruvian flute music in this greenhouse that looks like a jungle with lights behind the plants. Like, just, I mean, it's it was free because I volunteered, but it's some baller shit. I mean, that was some baller shit. And and it was cool. It was cool. My wife loved it. We'd be there at night. Having some wine and some charcuterie board and talking to people and chilling and it was because I volunteered there that we were allowed to be there at night when the thing is already closed. I would mess with my kids because there was a door that only the workers could go to, and sometimes they would come visit, and I would be like, "Hey, you guys got to stay there because only the employees could go back here." And it was cool, man. All the people I worked with were hella cool. Um, there was a lot of like ladies in their like 70s and 80s and late 60s, and they were cool because they had a youthful charm to them, like they were still so young at heart. They took advantage of the painting courses and everything that was offered as an enrichment opportunity. They would do it because they lived in the city. They were probably rich old ladies that probably lived in like some pretty nice neighborhoods there. And they were proud of the city's history. They would tell you about landmarks and life there. And sometimes we'd all kick it at those evening events. But like, for being that age, they had the heart of a really young person, the spirit of a young person. And I hope I could be like that for reals. Where you're not like this old, angry, bitter person, but like a happy young person that's always learning. Even they were cool. They were hella cool. Everybody was wonderful there. It was like just the best place to work. And I only had to do 3 hours. So now my 3 hours are up, right? And it's probably 1 o'clock. I think it was from 10 to 1. And so then I would probably go around. I think Haight hit Golden Gate Park, one of the streets, like it would go to it. But I'd go to this place called Nopalito. And it's like organic, like high-end Mexican food. And I knew about it because I saw a show where like the chef was a star from Oaxaca. Well, he was a worker from Oaxaca, a dishwasher, and he worked his way up. And when he became chef, the place blew up. So the owners like just gave him half of a stake in the restaurant, and they were like, "You're not a chef no more. You're half owner." And he worked harder, and they like expanded and had 3 more. One on Broderick Street, one on Lincoln, and I don't know where the other one's at. I would go to the one on Lincoln. And then I treat myself to a nice meal. And sometimes, like, because I can kick up conversations with people, I'll be in there eating by myself, and there might be someone else eating by themselves, and I kick up a conversation. The next thing you know, they're at my table and we're splitting food and chopping it up. And I had to leave, but like, I've had like really beautiful women be like, "You want to go for a walk in the park after this?" I was like, "Nah, man, I gotta catch my bus home." But it was cool, man. I mean, it was just thriving, just freaking thriving. I mean, it's just been a wonderful day already. Scenic drive without me driving, time on the beach, a juicy breakfast, seeing all these wonderful people in this beautiful, gorgeous setting. After I've walked through just this gorgeous park where everybody's happy and like friggin' the paradise the Jehovah Witnesses talk about. And so now I ate a meal and I say my goodbyes, and I got to go catch my bus home over by the Caltrain station. But I still got a couple hours. So I might, some days I would catch the bus to Aquatic Park, and I would rent a locker and I would go swim in the bay. And then when I was done, I come back, warm up in the sauna, and bullshit with the people in the sauna. And well, not bullshit, that's just figure of speak. I'm not really a bullshitter, but just talk and learn from people, man. They would like hit me the shit that when people go to Mexico and say they got you a Cuban cigar, they didn't get you a Cuban cigar. even in Cuba, the Cuban cigars are bootleg because they got to come from very specific soil to be called a real Cuban. A volcanic soil that is where they have to grow the tobacco. But anyways, like I would learn all this stuff about like the world that was out of my price range. You know, these people had like sailboats and lived in nice houses in the city. But you could rent a locker for $10 and use these facilities and fancy rowboats. It was cool. It was a cool spot. And you swim in the bay in you know, in San Francisco's water. But it's aquatic park, so there's like this wall that keeps the current from pulling you out. There's an opening in it, so theoretically a shark could come in there, but it was cool. It was cool. They had a big pirate ship at the time, and you know, you can swim a quarter mile, get cold, and then go to the sauna, and then, you know, put your clothes back on, like your regular clothes, because you got on the swim trunks, right? And then go grab a crab or something, eat it, and then catch the bus back to the Caltrain station. Or I would walk through the Haight, go buy a Derby at the Derby of San Francisco store, check out some window shopping, buy gifts, souvenirs for my wife and kids, and then go back to the Caltrain station. Sometimes I would go to Chinatown and get like a balcony seat and just overlook the city while I eat some fried rice and shrimp, because shrimp is probably the best bet in tourist locations. At least Chinatown. I don't think I like the chicken too much. Not because I'm saying it's anything else, just it's not high quality chicken. I always figure it's like I think I could taste the chicken if that food had like half a broken beak, an eye poked out, missing feathers on them, and had a sad life. I think that shit comes through, man. You want animals that had happy lives. Anyways, and so it was like just these wonderful experiences every single time I went, and I would do different shit like almost all the time. My wife would talk shit, and she'd be like, "You motherfucker, you had the most romantic dates when you're by yourself." And I would be by myself, you know. Sometimes I would go rent these canoes in Golden Gate Park. They got this lake, and it's got this little island in the middle, and these really like old bridges that are like stone bridges from the 1800s that you go under on this lake, and so I would rent a canoe, and then I would just like go out to the middle of the lake, smoke, lay in the canoe, and just think about life and be like, all right, man, I got like an hour to kill. I'm just going to smoke right here and watch people. Or sometimes I would go on hikes. And I would take selfies, and I come home and show my wife, like, look, this is what I did today. And she'd be like, man, you be fucking just on some romantic ass shit when you're by yourself. And I would tell her, man, you know, take the day, go with me. But you know, sometimes everyone's work ain't as flexible, I guess. But it was thriving. You know what I mean? It was thriving, and it was worth whatever I spent on that megabus ticket. I got paid for at work anyways, because you know I'm just taking a vacation day. But it those were, I think, some of my happiest days. It wasn't about coming up. It wasn't about trying to be somebody in the world. It wasn't even about trying to leave my mark. I wasn't trying to be the greatest fucking greeter. I wasn't trying to be the greatest docent. I wasn't trying to be the greatest volunteer. It was an adventure, you know. It was exciting to do something new, to meet new people. And again, like, Golden Gate Park is so gorgeous. So much to see, botanical gardens, you know, so much life. I know someone who's, you know, going away for a while, and they're partying it up, and I'm like, man, you should probably go to see nature, and instead, because it's very therapeutic, and so anyways, I just wanted to share an example of thriving as it applies to me. It wasn't work. It was taking a day to do something for me. That did include volunteering. That made me feel good about myself, and I just happened to be lucky enough to volunteer in a place that was so incredibly beautiful. Um, as I tell this story, I am putting like a couple pebbles on the scale towards retirement, because um, then I would go do this again. I would probably go volunteer at either the DeYoung Museum or the art gallery, the art museum they have there in the park as well. Um, and you can volunteer at the zoo. There's just all these wonderful things to do. So if I retired, I would probably do that. That would just be how I spend 2 days a month, um, at the art gallery, walking people around and showing them stuff, and learning and myself. So that's thriving for me. I hope everybody gets a chance to thrive in ways that work for them, where they're not thinking about making a dollar. They're not thinking about surviving. They're just looking out for themselves that day in a way that doesn't take from anyone else, that doesn't hurt anyone else. Um, yeah, if that's what you should want to give your kids, if not yourself. Hopefully you do it for yourself too. And now I'm repeating myself. So peace out. Have a good one.